Well, that definitely wasn't what I was hoping to see. See, even she approves. Not exactly sure who she belongs to, but when she manages to get out, she always seems to show up here. She's super sweet. She's just chilling. All right, let's see what it's going to take to get this intake manifold off here. I'm going to start by shooting a little penetrating oil on these fasteners. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. And assuming that we don't have any problems getting any of these fasteners off, it should be pretty straightforward. Wouldn't you know it, it's about to rain. Just my luck. Definitely makes having a shot more important. All right. We're gonna get lucky today. Penetrating on these fasteners. And that's it. I gotta get the ones down here. See if that'll help any. Grab me a flat blade screwdriver or a 1/4 inch. Well, I need a workshop and I need a workbench. I need a tool cart. And I need a flat blade screwdriver. And a 1/4 inch. If everything comes off this easy. I think maybe while we have this intake manifold off, I'm going to run a compression check on this thing just to get an idea of what kind of motor we're dealing with. am not sure. Seems like the oil pressure's it has a mechanical gauge, and it's the factory gauge, but there are no numbers on it. It has a range, so I'm really not even quite sure the oil pressure on this thing is good. It's kind of in the range, but once up to temperature at idle, it's kind of down on the low end of it. And that might be normal for this truck I don't know. But I have a mechanical gauge, so maybe we'll check that. That and the compression, and maybe we'll get an idea if we're starting off with a good motor. Dude, I am not kidding you. There is not a single thing on this truck that's flat. Now you can definitely tell that thing's been on there for a minute. Where you at, baby? Your water bucket's over there. All right. I'd point one thing out while I had this carburetor off. See that throttle bore? See that little orifice right there? And then through that cutout in that base gasket, that leaves that port right there with manifold vacuum. But if you put a solid base gasket on there, you're blocking off this port right there. And that port right there actually has communication to another hole that's just above the throttle plate. So just by putting that solid gasket and blocking off this orifice, you're turning that port right there into port vacuum. And that's where the vacuum advance on your distributor is getting its signal from. My Chevelle was kind of having a problem with bogging really bad when it was coming off idle. Just as you opened up the throttle, man, it would just lay over. And the accelerator pump and everything else on it seemed to be fine. But then when I was under the car, under the hood, I noticed that every time that I would open up the throttle, that vacuum advance on the distributor, I would start losing advance. Right when you needed it, as your motor was starting to come up to speed, you had this bog because you started losing your vacuum advance when you needed it most. So I was looking for a way to convert that to a port vacuum to see how that would affect it. And that's when I pulled the carburetor off that little Chevelle. It has the exact same motor and carburetor on it. And I noticed that setup with that gasket. I put a solid base gasket on there and turned that into port vacuum going to the distributor, and that made a world of difference in how the car performed. So I just thought that might be worth noting for somebody else that has a little one of these little Rochester single barrels on these 250s, and I'm sure these single barrels are the same on all the little 6-cylinders. They're like the 194 and the 230s, and for that matter, probably even the 292. Yeah, just something that I happened to run across and just thought I might mention that. I know I'll probably do the same thing to this one because this one has a pretty severe hesitation as you're coming off idle. All right, well, I think that stuff is kind of set on those bolts a little while. I'm going to try to get this thing broke loose and see if we can get it off and see how bad that bolt is broken off in there. If we have anything sticking out at all or if it's recessed up in there. All right, here goes another. Oh dear God, don't tell me so. Do tell me so. No way. Well, this is not good. Yep, this is not good. Because unfortunately, all I have is some decent end wrenches, box end, but they're 12 point. And I don't really like getting that kind of crazy with them. 12-point socket. I want to round that bolt off, and it really will be a pain in the butt trying to get it out. But I do have a 6-point socket, so I can't get to the other ones, the studs, and then the ones behind, but at least the two end ones I can get to. So let's see if we can at least get them broke loose. Holy crap, you got to be kidding me. Well, that's a positive. Yep, that's a positive. It's definitely positive. Well, while it's still attached to the motor, I'm going to crawl up underneath and see if I can get these flange bolts off of this donut gasket. And hopefully I won't have to use a torch. Fun, fun, fun. No way, you can't tell me they're actually coming off. Well, gonna have to work it off. Little forward, little backwards. But at least they broke loose. Yep, at least they broke loose. Sometimes you get lucky. And then sometimes you don't. Oh, come on now. I dropped this freaking bolt in the grass. For this nut. You gotta be kidding me. I mean, right here. There you go. Oh, let's see if we can get this up. Well, a little bit more WD. All right. Some minor successes. Very minor. Very minor. But I had never seen a truck that had absolutely nothing on this thing that was flat. I mean, not a single surface on this thing. Not a single surface. All right. I do not know how this is going to work. See if we can get up in here. Damn, and that wasn't even tight. Come on now. We're never going to get this lucky again, are we? Yep. And I almost feel like it's my birthday. Almost. All right. Well, I think that leaves 4 more. And unfortunately, I don't have a 6-point wrench. And I really don't want to round any of these off. Really don't. Really don't. All right. There you go again. Man, I really don't want to have to take the temperature sending unit out of there, and I don't want to break it either. Oh yeah, that's good right there. That's good. All right, we might actually almost get lucky. Then we'll find out what that bolt looks like. I guess if I was smart, and I'm not saying that I am, we'll at least try to break these 2 bolts loose left holding these 2 pieces together, just so it'll be easier once I get them off. I don't have to try to find a way to hold it. Maybe we can just crack them. All right. No way. No way it's going this easy. Bet that bolt's going to be broke off in there good. It's coming out this easy. Damn. 5 of these are actually. I wonder if suckers leaking. They all feel kind of. Damn, that one wouldn't even tell you. Well, now I know why I was leaking. I think this was the only one that was tight. Alright, well they're all broke loose. This sucker's coming off. Baby's coming off. It's coming off. Whether it wants to or not. these somewhere where I don't drop them. These. And we'll get these other ones off. Yep. Well, I can hear the motorcycle coming. I got a neighbor on the way. Oh, heck, he's driving by. I thought he was going to walk up. Come on, man. There you go. There you go. Cooperate with me. All right. Well, that just leaves one, actually. And that would have to be the one that's stuck behind this temperature thing in it. Yep, that leaves just one. Yep, just one. All right. I think we're about to reveal the truth. Yep, we're about to reveal the truth. Now, oh, the bugger's kind of heavy. The camera's in the way. Need a better shot over here. Ah, success. Well, a little heat, a drill press, and an easy out. That's all it took. Well, when I finally got that assembly off, I got sidetracked. I had a visitor show up, and when I separated that intake and exhaust, I didn't get a video of that bolt broke off in that intake manifold. And then Sunday is a day that friend of mine that has that shop, they have a gathering there on Sundays and get together and eat and cook. And so I went over there, and he was nice enough to let me use his equipment to get that bolt out of that manifold. And they had kind of a lot going on there. bunch of people running around, and I didn't want to make some big production out of it. I was grateful that he let me use his equipment while they had stuff going on, so I went over there and knocked it out pretty quick. Actually pretty simple. Just used a drill press, and I center punched that bolt and drilled down through it and used an easy out and put a lot of heat on it. Actually, it didn't want to come out, but we got that section of the intake manifold pretty hot. It was like a dull red, and then was able to break it loose, and then I let it cool down on its own. And so far it looks like it all worked out. Didn't see like we caused any problems. Threads are still good, and I don't see any damage, so I think I'll be able to go back with it. But it started raining, and I think I'm gonna put together this portion of the video and get it uploaded. My internet connection here is so bad that sometimes I have a hard time uploading, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to get this up. And if the weather cooperates here in a little while and it stops drizzling, I might come out here and see if we can run a compression test on this motor, because I'm gonna try to track down another bolt. This little town around here, if you find anything, it's almost, and then you got to buy a whole box of them, and I'd rather not do that. So I'm going to see if I can find an exhaust manifold bolt the right length, and I might go ahead and get some high temp paint and kind of dress it up before I put it back on. And I think I'll need a carburetor kit. It looked like that carburetor had been leaking, so before I just try to slap it back together, I might try to track down a few pieces and get this thing cleaned up before I get it back on, and then try to get that carburetor going through. But in the meantime, we can run a compression test on this motor, and so we get an idea of what we're starting with. So I hope y'all guys stick around.